Are we at the end yet? This fucking chapter's pretty long.
By the time we reached it, my heart was threatening to seize, and my lungs refused to work. My head was being ripped apart, and my flesh felt like it was trying to peel back away from my meat. I couldn't make it to the far end, and I couldn't make it back, but the cell was free of the pink.
Yeah, you're fucked.
All I had to do was unlock it. I fumbled, screaming in agony, and tried again. My companions pressed close, all of them dying. This time, the door opened. We all stumbled inside. The torture melted away, but my EFS was flashing all the worst messages. Without healing potions, we couldn't go back out, and we only had 2 left. 2 of us would have to stay behind, trapped in this cell until the others could get back with healing supplies. "You 2 go on ahead," Calamity rasped, waving a wing limply at Zenith and me. I opened my muzzle to argue, but he pushed it shut with his hoof. "It's your mission more than mine, and it's only proper y'all should be the ones to see it through. Besides, you 2 are the best skilled for jailbreaking anywho." Zenith wobbled, looking stricken. "No, it—" Then she stopped, her eyes going horribly wide, all the remaining color draining from the skin beneath her coat. She wasn't staring at Calamity. Her eyes were locked on the wall behind him.
Yeah, what the fuck's behind him?
I nudged past my Pegasus friend and looked at the wall. There were words there, scrawled in the rusty color of blood. But the words were strange, the letters in no language I knew. "Zenith, what is it?" "It is a prophecy," she intoned softly, "in the old language of our people." Slowly, she read, a tremble in her voice. "By the light of our stars, we illuminate your end, and shine on the graves of all zebra kind. 100,000 nightmares will descend upon you. The armies of our dark child will fill the skies, and foes from impenetrable cities will fall upon all of your lands, shielded by armor crafted from their very souls. Rejoice with us, for every single one of you shall die." I froze, transfixed to the spot, a slow bubble of horrified realization crawling up in my mind from the blackest abyss. The prophecy was wrong. It was a lie. But, surely, as much as the zebras loathed anything they associated with the stars, surely a prophecy like this would have gotten back to the zebras' Kaisar and the religious leaders of their land. I had seen 4 stars. I knew there were zebras loyal to the homeland and ponies loyal to their cause. This would have gotten back. And when the zebras saw megaspells and alicorn shields, would they not have made the same assumption as Fluttershy did about how the spells could be used to protect their entire cities? When they learned the Black Book had fallen to Rarity's hooves, and even heard her suggest using soul jars to create invincible armor, would they be able to believe that she would abandon the project? How about the new Pegasi armor? And how would they react if they discovered that Twilight Sparkle was creating alicorns? The prophecy was a tailor-made doomsday lie, designed to drive the zebras to the worst possible extremes. But how did the zebra know? How could he predict, twisted and distorted, things that were not even set into motion until after his death? The acquisition of the Black Book, in fact, was set into motion by his capture. How?
I don't know.
Okay, it wasn't impossible. I had seen precognition level abilities before. Maybe the stars, or something, gave the zebra something equivalent to Pinkie Pie's unusual senses. Maybe it was the influence from the Black Book, or spells that had been woven into it after it was turned into a soul jar. Maybe the zebra had been on Mintals, or something more potent than
Or
Mintals.
all of it.
The zebras were the ones who created those drugs after all, right? Or maybe, just maybe, it didn't matter. No, not maybe. It didn't matter. The constables here had been so terrified of this insane zebra that they hadn't been willing to unlock the door to remove the body. I looked down, and sure enough, the skeleton was still here. Midnight Shower hadn't been able to see the entire prophecy from the window. Perhaps no one ever did. It was entirely possible that we were the very first people to see the writing on the wall. And the worst part is, it didn't matter. Even if this prophecy never made it out of this room, the zebras didn't need it. The Ministry of Magic had cracked the zebra's bypass magic just a few mere weeks before the end, and already they were using it to create shields that only specific individuals could get through. Twilight Sparkle was starting pony testing of the Alicorn creating IMP formula the very day of the strikes. Once those advances happened, it was only a matter of time before Equestria had impenetrable defenses and an army of advanced Alicorn fighters, and the zebras would lose. The zebras had already lost. Equestria had won. It was only a matter of playing it out. Checkmate, in a predictable number of moves. And if the zebras truly believed that there was no possibility of surviving a surrender, that they were facing annihilation or worse under Nightmare Moon, and they truly did believe that, then the only move left was to blow up the board. The zebras didn't see any other choice. From the Journal of Midnight Shower. I'm almost finished packing. There's no point pursuing my research here. I will get no more cooperation from the zebras of Zebratown. To my dismay, not even Daisy will respond to my knocking, although I suppose she could legitimately be out of town. It doesn't matter. I have sent a message ahead to Princess Luna, informing her of my failure and my imminent return. I have ordered a royal chariot to pick me up in just under 2 hours. That should be enough to pack up this terminal and the last of my possessions. I want to be rid of this place and back in my own bed before midnight. And there is the knock on the door. It would appear my ride is early. Well, they'll have to wait. But I will not make them wait long. And now they've upgraded their knocking to banging. Now I worry that Princess Luna is disappointed with me and wishes to see me return before I have time to pack. Or perhaps they have invitations
It's a
to
murder!
Swan and Canterlot and fear I'll make them unfashionably late. Doesn't matter. I've decided I don't really need a lot of this junk anyway. I can always buy new things once I'm back in the lap of a society of reasonable ponies. Actually, all I really need are those things already in my bags, as well as the heirloom's lockbox and this terminal. I'll be ready to go as soon as I've finished writing this entry and I've shut. Zenith and I gazed upwards. The entire stairwell on this side of the building had collapsed, taking a fair bit of each floor with it. We were at the nadir of a 4-story pit.
Yeah, that pony's that Midnight Star's really overly talkative. Was it the mega spell that was hit and the guy's like, "Fucking open up! The mega spell's coming!" Wow, that's a way to go. Just fucking talk yourself to death while the apocalypse is going around.
Looking upwards through where ceilings and floors used to be. 3 floors up, we could see a jail cell, and the young adult zebras trapped inside. Well, barely. The cell was behind a shield being generated by 2 familiar dark green alicorns sitting in front of it like guards, unmoving and unblinking. On the floor above, 3 more alicorns stood watch. Well, at least the pink cloud hadn't seeped into this part of the building and become trapped here. I was still getting nasty medical warnings on my EFS, despite having found a couple more healing potions in the constable's locker room medical box and imbibed one. Zenith drank the other. I felt slightly bad for not saving it, but by the time the 2 of us made it out of the basement, we couldn't have rescued any zebras. In fact, if we hadn't found those 2 potions, we would be needing rescue ourselves. I really hated the pink cloud. 5 alicorns. Fuck. I should have seen this one coming. Alicorns normally work in groups of 3. There were 3 in the other wing, 1 on the roof. That meant at least 2 more, and 5 made even more sense. How the hell were we supposed to do this? There was no way to sneak up to the cage, and we were hardly in prime fighting condition. I was working on a brilliant plan. I almost had the start of one when I heard Zenith gasp softly. "Zephyr!" I eeped in surprise as Zenith's teeth bit down on my name as she threw me onto her back. The zebra charged into view of the alicorns, shouting a battle cry.
What? No!
One after the other, the 3 alicorns ignited their shields and jumped down, swooping towards us. Zenith turned and ran, but not far. "Hold on, little one." I wrapped my forelegs around her tightly, wondering what she intended to do.
Yeah, the fuck you doing?
She spun, lowering her horn, and started charging to meet the closest of the alicorns as it sped towards her. "You're kidding, right?" At the last moment, Zenith leapt. The zebra sailed through the air with me clinging onto her back for dear life. Her hooves hit the alicorn's shield and pushed off of it, keeping momentum, leaping to the next, then the third.
Oh, what the fuck?
The zebra landed on the floor in front of the 2 green alicorns. I was still hugging her tightly, looking back down at the 3 utterly surprised alicorns who had just been used as jumping platforms. Zenith reared and slashed her head from one side, then the other, slicing her hellhound horn through the throats of the 2 alicorns in front of her. The shield dropped. "Open the door, little one," she demanded. "Hurry." I blinked, still feeling stunned, and slid off of her back. I reached out with my magic, picking the lock on the cell door with casual ease. The alicorns below us were shaking off their surprise and soaring back up towards us. "Do you have any more of those memory orbs, little one?" I nodded. "Yeah, but they won't fall
Shoot.
for the..." But these alicorns had been cut off. They might just fall for the same trick. "Stand back," I warned. Zenith dove past me into a cell, pulling off her satchel and dumping its contents before the wide-eyed younger zebra bucks and mares. I floated out all of the memory orbs I had. I heard her say, "The ones like this one, each of you take one and put it on, swiftly." The alicorns were flying up at us. Staring down through the ruins at them, I flung the memory orbs into the abyss, yelling, "Balefire eggs for every monster! Yay!" The 3 alicorns scattered. Behind me, I heard the young zebra suddenly start crying out in sharp pain. I spun around, turning my back to the chasm in alarm. "What's going—" I stopped, stunned yet again, not believing my eyes. "And some of the zebras have magic fetishes that allow them to fly," Rarity's voice chimed sweetly in the back of my mind,
God
speaking
damn
of the
it!
3 bucks harassing Rainbow Dash. "If you think it's impossible for an earthbound mare to fly her way into Cloudsdale with the right magic, you have tragically short memories." All 8 zebras in front of me, including Zenith herself, had grown large bat-like wings.
Oh, that's cool!
"Wow, that's... when did you..." My gaze fell to the strange talisman hanging from Zenith's neck, formed in part from an inhaler, and the identical ones worn by each of the other zebras, several of whom were still wiggling and writhing as their wings grew. I realized what the blood wing strips were for. Zenith smiled at me with feigned innocence. "You realize those are kinda creepy, right?"
They're
she
awesome!
finally said, smiling
Get your
just a
own!
touch.
Little Pip, get your own. Ask for one.
Once again, I was riding Zenith's back, this time with my forelegs
God
wrapped
damn
around
it!
her neck as her wings flapped on either side of me. Rain cascaded over both of us, soaking us. The 7 other zebras were soaring behind us. We had a slight head start, but none of this lot were anything more than the most novice of flyers. The same could not be said for the 3 alicorns pursuing us. They swooped up out of the Zebra Town police station behind us, tossing up their shields as soon as they were airborne. Bright light and thunder cracked the air, and one of the zebras screamed as an alicorn lightning spell struck him. He fell from the sky, trailing smoke. "No!" I lashed out with my magic, grasping him in a telekinetic net, and drawing him back towards us. But the young zebra buck was already dead. Whoosh. Twin missiles launched from somewhere in the Zebra Town ruins below, striking against one of the alicorn shields. The monster turned her attention to Steelhoof's. The Zebra Town police station exploded. The blast tore upwards through the larger half of the police station, rending the building apart. The force of the blast slammed into the 3 alicorns, causing their shields to fail and knocking the one diving towards Steelhoof's out of the sky. The shockwave hit us, and Zenith lost control. Behind us, I heard Steelhoof's taking full advantage of the alicorn's moment of vulnerability. I threw my magic around Zenith, myself, and the 6 surviving zebras, pulling up and trying to soften the crash. We landed in the amphitheater lake with a percussion of hard splashes. I gasped, struggling to paddle my way to the surface, no better at swimming than Velvet Remedy was. My head broke the surface once, barely. I sucked in a mixture of air and water as a wave hit across my muzzle. The last thing I saw was a swirling burst of green and gold flashing in the sky over where the Zebra Town police station used to be.
Fucking
You did
ridiculous.
what?
Yeah!
Velvet Remedy shrieked. The rain had finally stopped.
Yeah, they
leaving
did
the
it,
wasteland
whatever
blue,
it
gray, and
was.
wet. There were no rainbows, but the air had a fresh smell that was utterly pleasant. It was our second day back. We had arrived late in the evening, just after the rainstorm ended. Our return was heralded with surprise and celebration amongst the zebras of Glyphmark, while we spent the night sleeping and the morning recovering and, metaphorically, licking our wounds. I had wanted a funeral for the 2 zebras we had failed to save, but the Glyphmark zebras didn't want to spoil the first bright moment in their recent lives with thoughts of mourning.
Understandable.
Instead, we turned our efforts to helping this town in the ways we could before we left. This time, I wasn't helping those in need only to walk away. Calamity looked up from the military robot he was repairing and tipped his hat. I blew up the big old boiler they had in the basement. Steel has worked alongside Calamity, accessing the robot with his magically powered armor through a pit-bug technician tool that I had let him borrow. The Applejack's Ranger was reprogramming each of the robots in the Angel lot that Calamity could get working right, turning them into guards for the town of Glyphmark. Velvet Remedy stammered, looking
You know, it would still help if you could also teach them to shoot guns. You know, just saying that, you know, that might be good. Why not both? Do both.
utterly aghast. Hey, I knew I couldn't make it to any of the other exits, but I figured I could make it to the other 3 yards from the cell to the boiler, throw all the right switches and turn all the right knobs and make it back to the cell before keeling over. He grinned sheepishly, adding, and, you know, open the furnace up so Pilot could fly inside. Firelight cooed happily. Of the lot of us, she was the best for wear, having been nicely incinerated in a fire of her own making.
Why?
Why not?
Well, I figured little Pip and Zenith had their cells full as it was, and we didn't want anyone getting dead trying to save us, Calamity explained. So I thought, hey, a boiler explosion's mostly steam, ain't it? And we seen how the rain washes away the pink cloud, so I reckon a steam explosion would clear the basement cloud right quick.
But you could have been killed.
Well, the cell looked real sturdy. I figured it'd hold. Calamity grinned, blushing. Of course, we got a hell of a bigger bang than I was expecting. Good thing the blast mostly went straight up.
That's insane.
Yeah!
Velvet Remedy stomped, trapped between relief that Calamity was alive and desire to strangle him for enacting such a reckless plan. The softer voice of Zephyr intoned, "That is the friend of yours whose name is Calamity, right?"
Yeah, I want to know
Zenith
more
trotted
about
past
Zephyr.
Calamity with
Or
Zephyr
whatever her
and
name
several
is.
of the other town zebras in tow. Her daughter stared at the Pegasus as they passed, and Calamity tipped his hat forward and bowed. "Pleased to meet you, Miss Zephyr." Zenith was leading the group of zebras down to the labs beneath Angel Bunny Pharmaceuticals. I wasn't sure how I felt about Zenith teaching the town of Glyphmark how to manufacture Dash, but I had given in to her argument that the town needed something they could sell to merchants in exchange for food and supplies.
Yeah?
This was her way of trying to be responsible for them. We were losing Zenith, but only for a short while. She was going to stay behind in Glyphmark, spending some time with her daughter and helping the Glyphmark tribe while the rest of us tackled the Canterlot ruins. The Canterlot ghoul paused in his work, looking up at Calamity. "And how did you know the boiler would still work?" "Well, I was kinda counting on it not working right, actually. That's kinda how you get them to explode, after all." Velvet turned and hissed at Firelight.
I can't believe you would take part in something so insane.
The Balefire Phoenix looked slightly abashed, but no less proud of herself. Velvet Remedy tossed her mane back, stuck her nose high in the air, and harumphed. I listened to each of them, a smile on my face.
Yeah, they're your idiot
Then
friends.
turned back to the zebra standing in line next to me. Each was wielding one of the firearms Calamity had rebuilt from the mess of
Yeah!
weapons we had scavenged from the police station's contraband vault. "Now watch closely," I instructed, beginning their first lesson on marksmanship and firearm safety. They all looked at me intently, eager to learn how to defend themselves and their town. For the first time in goddesses know how long,
That's what I'm
there was a
talking
sense
about.
of hope in Glyphmark.
Of course, one other thing they should be doing is teaching the kids how to maintain their robots. Because, like, when those robots break down, you know, you gotta repair them. So, like, there should be, like, some over there with Calamity learning how to do that. Anyways, that's all for that chapter. See ya.